Surrounded by strangers, never even get to meet them. And now you've got a vested interest. Now, here's the rules. You never have to speak to, if you were John, you never have to speak to Mary ever again for the rest of your life. There's no obligation. There's just a financial incentive. And all I said to you was, could you do anything with that? Does that make common sense? That if, you brought the person in and you introduced a few. Remember what I said before? We studied the top producers across the entire North American continent. They weren't sharing their information. And that was a dilemma in the business. Made it a bad business model. Now, they've got a vested interest to the tune of 10% to pass down the wisdom. Who'd you ever teach in this business? Who did you ever pass your wisdom down to? Or did you keep it all to yourself? Keeping it to yourself is ego. Me first. I love me. Who do you love? Empathy is you first. Me first, you first. Have you not learned in your life up to this point that the only reason you get anything is from giving? Have you not learned that? This whole system is based on that. Is the giving principle, not the getting principle. It's not gimme, gimme, gimme any longer. We removed it. Makes for a better brokerage, makes for a more harmonious brokerage. That's why you go into exit offices and everything else, there's a sense of peace and harmony that you can't find anyplace else. You just can't find it. It doesn't exist. Because everybody's trying to protect their desks, their phone numbers they have accidentally left there, and all the rest of the stuff. This is a complementary system, one to the other. Okay, now, everybody can bring in people any place that we exist. Oh, you mean it's not just for my own brokerage? No, you could go to California, Texas, Boston, go to Vancouver. Wherever we exist, you could sponsor people in. Oh, you mean I could be on a holiday, a vacation. I could accidentally bump into somebody in a store and realize that they're wearing a pin. They're a realtor. We start talking at the checkout line, and before you know it, the conversation's going down, and then they say, what is this exit thing? I heard about it. What is it? How's it work? Sounds like a crazy name. What is it? And then you say, well, listen, don't sell it to me. Just tell it to me. Like, all I want to do is find out the information. Don't sell it to me. And you just tell them how it works, because just in the knowing of how it works does the rest. You don't have to sell anybody anything. Just explain it to them properly. They'll figure out whether or not it's good for them. And so you do that. And before you know it, they find it interesting. Say, that's exactly what I've been looking for. I could do that. I could do that. Because there's a new avenue of people to talk to. Because when you bring in real estate agents on this system, you create a future. When you deal with your clientele, you just pay your bills. Because that's all you've been doing up to now. This is supplementary. And now we got people, you see the papers in front of you there. We got people, there's one, $248,000 of residual money coming into them from other people's energies running around the street in the rain and the snow. Could you, if I wrote you a check right now for $248,000, you got a place to put it? Got a few places? Of course you do. It's not the money. It's not the money. And of course, we expect everybody that works for a brokerage to defend the brokerage. We expect that. We're all like little viruses protecting ourselves. So wherever you work, you fight for it. This is the best place, and so on and so forth. All we're saying is, take a look at this new idea, because every once in a while, new ideas come along. Very seldom in the real estate business. The last idea was deal fees in 1983. Previous to that in Canada, it was desk fees. Desk fees were introduced nationally in the United States in 1973. Before that, by realty executives who really invented it in the first place, out of Arizona. Wow. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. I know now that I have a new avenue. I could bring people in, get them signed up with management. Management's the check and balances there with regard to the recruiting process. So periodically I'll bump into somebody and it'll happen. It's a supplementary thing, fine. We have a software program that will execute it perfectly. Now guess what the Canadian government did for us in this regard? They've given us $750,000 of grants just for putting the software program together, because they've never seen anything from an entrepreneurial standpoint that complemented the human being and the family to the same degree. So for the last 3 years, we got $250,000 around February of the year, and they said they're going to pay it to us till the end of the decade. Well, when your own government backs you on something, I think you're probably going down the right path, because it makes good common sense. They sent their experts in to rip our books apart and everything else to find out how the system works. And it works very fine, thank you very much, because if it didn't work, you can bank on the fact that the agents would be complaining, right? So it works. And we called in IBM, and of course it cost me 4 times what they said, and it took twice as long as they said, right? Isn't that the way tech goes? Of course. And I said, build a Rolls Royce. I'm not a tech guy. And my people, my geeks went in the room, and I said, don't come out until you got it working, humming like a Rolls Royce. 2 years later, they finally come out, and it's been working fine ever since. And now we're getting grants from the government for putting it together. Wow. So it's automatic. It's universal, right? It's integrated from head office. Head office controls the whole thing, yeah. Single level, not multi-level marketing. Single level. I studied personally multi-level marketing for 6 years. I wanted to find out if they had anything. All of us went to the meetings, right? Or we know somebody that went to the meetings, and we all thought we were going to get rich, and we all didn't. In fact, I never met anybody that got rich in multi-level marketing, although there probably is 1 or 2 out there. I just never met them. It was really not designed for the common man. And we all ended up with a bad taste in our mouth. So as we examined it, there was a couple of good things. Say, what was good about it? We found that people would beget other people if they thought that there was something substantial in it for them to create a future. The problem with multi-level marketing was they usually specialized in small products. Nobody wanted to sell the small products because the commission return on the small products was so small, so it didn't matter water purifiers, didn't matter what it was. Nobody wanted to sell the small products, so the small products never got sold. They brought in people in droves, product never got sold, it all fell apart. And so consequently, nobody got rich. We don't sell a small product, we sell the biggest one they would ever buy. So we chose to go single level. 10% off the top's a nice little return, isn't it? Especially when they can stay for the rest of their entire career. And that might be 20 or 30 or 40 years because some of you, looking at the gray hair in this room, have been in this business for that long. Let's go farther. Sooner or later, you're going to want to go to the island and retire. Sooner or later, you're not going to want to do this anymore. Now, granted, if you're one of the younger ones in the room, that's not on your agenda right now. Extra cash is on your agenda right now. Paying your bills, feeding your kids, all the rest of the stuff is on your agenda right now. But some of us are closer to that end than that end. And let's look at retirement. We looked at the industry. You ask yourself this question, did your corporation, some of them are very rich. There are corporations in this business that are so rich they don't even know how much money they've got. They've got billions of dollars and have never taken the time, despite the fact that they've been in the business for 25, 35, or 100 years, never took the time to put in a pension plan and make this into a business. Every other business has got one. You don't have one. You sell the finest product to the customer, big return on invested time, but nobody ever took the time to put that in. Okay, what if you did? We did. How's it work? Residually. How much? 7%. We studied other retiring companies that retire people, and we found that they paid you less when you retired than when you got full-time. Is that true? Yeah, you got less, right? That's what we said we'd do the same. We paid 10% when you're full-time. We're going to pay 7% when you go to the island. What does that mean? That means when you brought in people when you were here, that we're still going to pay you as they put deals together. You're still going to get your residual benefit. It's just reduced by 3%. Oh, did you guys keep the 3%? No, no, no. That stays with your broker that held your license before you retired. We don't keep it. 10% goes through all the time. We never keep any of that. Oh, wow. So my broker gets 3, and I get 7. Yeah, your broker has to know which island you're on. For that, gets 3% of it. Oh, okay. So I'm getting 7%. You mean I'm getting envelopes, or you're putting it straight in my bank? Yes. Oh, so they're running around. What if they run around the rain for 20 or 30 or 40 years and put deals together? You're going to get paid for 20 or 30, 40 years. I've got to ask you this question. Is that better than what you've got right now? Wow. Now let's go one step farther. It's enhanceable. What does that mean? In fact, it's the only enhanceable pension plan in the world, all businesses included. What does it mean? It's improvable after you quit. What? Every time I ever retired in any other job, I couldn't walk in 3 or 4 years later and say, give me more money. They wouldn't give it to you. Whatever you're going to get, that's what you're going to get. On ours, you can continue to bring people into the company for the rest of your entire life when you retire with exit and benefit that program. You're going to get paid out at 7% because you're retired. But you could bump into somebody on that same island, introduce them into the system. You're still going to get 7% of that. And 3% goes to the broker that held your license before you retired. So you can multiply yourself, duplicate yourself, or clone yourself after you're retired. Could you do anything with that? Does that make any? Do you not think you're going to bump into real estate agents for the rest of your life? Go to Florida. There's probably 300,000 down there. They're everywhere. Agents are everywhere. Go and have a drink at the bar. There'll be 3 of them sitting there. Isn't that true? It's true. Wow. Okay, so we're just, we're just looking at this creatively. And then we made it portable and convertible and all kinds of extra benefits so it would be functional to you as a person. Then we went one step farther. And here's the question. What if I fell off a ladder, had a heart attack or a stroke? What if I get hit by a car? Let's face facts. You're out there enough. What happens if I'm taken out of the picture? What do you do then? Beneficiary program. Really? How's that work? Residually. Oh, what rate? 5%. 5%, where'd the other 5 go? To the broker that held your license before your demise. We don't keep the money. 10% spins through every time. Really? Yeah, you pre-choose a beneficiary as soon as you join exit, just in case something happens to you. Because you're going to help us build the company. You're going to take a piece of the action as a result of helping us to build the company.